believe I'm finally driving the iconic Volkswagen van and we're driving at 100 kilometers per hour. It feels stable, it feels a bit hairy, but oh my god, this is so much fun. Hi guys, welcome to another vlog. I'm driving this. This is the 1971 Volkswagen T2 bay window bus. Well, look at it. It is an absolute classic with a lot of names. It's known as the Transporter, Combi, Microbus, Station Wagon, Bully, Bus, Camper, Minibus, Hippie, Clean Bus. It's also known as Terrorist because it was there in the Back to the Future movie. It's also known as Bully, but due to copyright issues, they could not use that name, so they actually changed it. And because the lights are so low now, it's also known as low lights. There are 6 generations of this particular van, which is also used as a camper van, a panel van, a bus, pickup truck, taxi, ambulance, hearse, police van, ice cream van, and whatnot. It even is used as a fire engine. It is actually a forward control van, the first forward control van in the world, because the driver actually sits right on the front wheels, and then obviously everyone else copied. Now, this car comes courtesy of Hasib to me, so thank you so much for lending me your prized possession. And straight away, I'll tell you the price of this car, close to rupees 40 lakhs if you get one today, that is. Now, it is rounded here because originally it was very boxy, and with the boxy shape, the aerodynamics went for a toss with the CD value of 0.75, which is crazy. So they made it everything very rounded here, because of which the CD value reduced to 0.44. Why is it known as the T2? Because this is the Type 2, the very second vehicle which Volkswagen made. The first is of course the Beetle, and that's the reason this is sort of a van version of the Beetle. The lights are on right now, indicator functioning also, but I have to quickly turn it off so that I do not drain the battery. Ironically though, it has a Splendor key. I think this Hero Honda key is of the Splendor. This is the key of the vehicle, and the Volkswagen keychain, of course. It's a very cute looking car. It attracts too much attention, and I love the design. It's also known as the hippie. I obviously told you that. This is just fake. I don't know why it's there. No, it's not fake actually. It pulls in air. There's no air conditioning, but sort of fan, ventilation, whatever. This works as that because this is obviously rear engine, rear wheel drive, round lights. This will definitely remind you of the Beetle. Indicator is here. So the lights are low, so it's known as low lights, and that is a white colored bumper which looks quite cool. You get 2 wipers here and washer fluid. The wiper is on the other side. It should technically be the other side, but I think that's calibrated according to left-hand drive market, of course. The tire size is around 245. I think the profile must be around 55 or 60, and this looks like a 15-incher or probably 16-incher. These are not wide sidewall tires because they are not available anymore, but they have actually made it look like that. And you can see the suspension, so you can step here and get inside. This car seems to be in immaculate condition, and from the side you'll realize that the length is around 4.5 meters, the wheelbase is around 2.4 meters, which is good enough, but it looks very boxy. In fact, it's also known as bread loaf because it looks like a bread loaf, so they also call it bay or just loaf. Yeah, so many names for a car, which is quite surprising. The door does not open from here because there's no door only. Fuel goes in right here. What is this? Well, this is air cooled, so it has to draw in air to cool the engine, which it does from right there. I'm going to show you the roof of the vehicle. Yeah, it's rounded, and I think water accumulates here and then drains out from where it doesn't. Oh yeah, it does drain out when you apply brakes. Ding! Yeah, it has some amount of nose dive, of course. I'm eating my words because this is sort of my dream car. I've been looking to drive this in such a long time now. This is the second generation of the T2, which came in 1967-68, and if you notice, it has got 3 rows of windows. The T1, which is the first generation model, had 5 rows of windows, so that was a change. Originally launched in 1949 and was on sale till I think 2013. So sales continued to be there in Brazil, in South American markets, because they love this car, so they did not want to let it go. Lights are not very powerful. That's the reason the owner has actually put a reverse light here, so he can actually see what is there behind at night. And it says Volkswagen here. No rear wiper washer, it's not needed, of course. And the bumper is obviously metal. Why do I feel that the air is less there? I love this chrome hub right there. Let's quickly look at the suspension of the vehicle. Yeah, there it is. Okay, that is the exhaust, and there is the suspension. Let's open the boot. Well, why is it so high? Simply because the engine is right there. So good amount of space, yeah, lot of space here. Spare wheel has been placed right here, which is nice. And my goodness, it's super duper roomy. But if you notice, there's no headrest here at all, because obviously people back in the day did not have a head only. So there's no headrest at all in any of the seats, and the windows obviously do not open. But this is super light. With my little finger, I can actually push it down. Let's do it. Yeah, and there it shuts. Let's open the engine bay, and there is the engine. Well, it comes from the Beetle, of course, and it looks like a work of art. Rear engine, rear wheel drive for the win, but it does not drift because it's obviously very heavy. It doesn't need to drift with so many people on board. There is the battery. Engine bay seems quite empty. Every few years now, they would increase the displacement by 100 cc to increase the power by 1-2 HP. Yeah, that's it, 1-2 HP increase. In fact, the exhaust is also very chintu mintu. Yeah, that is the exhaust of the vehicle. It attracts way too much attention that everyone stops to see what is this car. So that door is having a slight problem. I can't get in from there. So I'm going to get in from here. So there's a fire extinguisher here. There's a fire extinguisher there as well. A lot of fire extinguishers in this car. It has got aftermarket speakers, it has got tweeters, it has got an audio system with a subwoofer somewhere behind that. So let's do one thing, let's firstly get inside, which is not that easy a task. There you see the brake pedal is actually having a lot of play. Yeah, so does the clutch also, and there's some storage space here. Firstly, this is a huge car. To get into the rear, I'll have to go from here because obviously that door is not opening at the moment. Volkswagen pillows, very premium, and this seat reclines like this so that you can get into the third row. So 3 people can sit in here, 3 here, 2 here, making it an 8-seater. I can jump and go in there, but it doesn't make sense because this seat seems very much similar. So I'm going to push it back into place. There it is. Okay, it is quite roomy. Look at that. In fact, yeah, there's good amount of space. Absolutely crazy amount of space here. Speaker placement right here. Some storage space here, and the dashboard looks really very nice and premium and very old as well, but still quite classic. Quality of everything is Volkswagen standard, of course, which is fantastic. Under-thigh support is not that great. Well, yeah, the seats are not that great by modern standards, but by retro standards, they're fantastic. They're quite cushiony. In fact, yeah, they keep making you bounce, bounce and bounce. There's a handle to hold on to as well. Oh my god, this is huge. There's a light here. Headroom is unbelievable. There's so much headroom in this car. Absolutely blows your mind. Some storage space here as well. Things are a bit littered, so don't mind about that. There's a glove box right here with some storage space. And let's actually try and use the fan. So where's the button? There's a button. Yeah. Okay, now you don't need air conditioning because there's a freaking fan right here from Bajaj. The only unreliable bit in this car could be this probably. Jokes aside, shut, fan, shut. No, it's not going to shut. Okay, it's increasing the speed. So you have to press it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So much storage space. This is actually the handbrake, which by mistake I touched and it has got deactivated. So we are going to turn on the handbrake. Yeah. There it is. The handbrake has been engaged. So what all are the buttons in this car? Firstly, you have to adjust the mirrors manually. You have to open the windows also manually like this. Yes, people back in the day had to do a lot of hard work. And if you notice here, there is this vent which pushes air right here. So that is how the... So what all are the buttons in this car? Firstly, you have to adjust the mirrors manually. You have to open the windows also manually like this. Yes, people back in the day had to do a lot of hard work.
So what's wrong?
And if you notice here, there is this vent which pushes air right here. So that is how the air circulation in this car works. It also has a pipe here which is disconnected now, which pushes air from here as well as here. Obviously, it has an ashtray as well because smoking seemed to be cool back in the day. Let's shut this. Solid. Yeah, the car feels really solid. The gear lever is really very long. Now this is for the indicator as well as for the horn. It has got 2 types of horns. The other one, yeah, 2 horns. This is the engine start button which has been put aftermarket so that the key doesn't have to be twisted all the time. This is for the lights. We'll shut that right now. This is for the choke. No, this is the cigarette lighter. I thought it's a choke. This button is mysterious. It's for kidnapping mode. Right now it's not working because neither of the rear doors open because there's no door on the right side. You cannot kidnap from the right side. This is for the hazard, and I think this is for the wiper. And that's it. So simple. But the steering is huge. I think this pod was for something, but it's the dummy right now. Fuel meter, telltale lights, and this is the speedometer along with the odometer, of course. It gets a retro audio system, which looks very retro, honestly. But these buttons are dummies. They do not work at all. However, we will definitely listen to some music, which means that I should get the right key, not the one from Hero Honda. And let's actually turn on the car. So, key inside. There it's telling me, and I press this button. Okay, I think I am messing up somewhere. So, let us do it again. There. It rose to life. Let's listen to some audio. Audio quality is decent. And these are actually the controls for cold and hot air, so you can decide if you want cold or hot air only if you're driving, so that wind will be coming. Let's use the wipers. No, I don't know how to use them. No, there they are working. Okay, you have to shut them at a position. There, I've shut it at the proper position. The wipers get the job done. No auto dimming. It has a fast tag, of course. Got multiple mounts, phone mount. So that is the infotainment system when you mount your phone. And this is for a GoPro mount, I believe. Yeah, simple but very beautiful. Attracts way too much attention. Let's start driving right away. Alright, let's start driving. Let me turn on the car. There, it rose to life. Let's rev it a bit. Okay, clutch engaged into first gear, handbrake down, and off we go. First gear 40 into second. Second gear almost 70 kilometers per hour into third. Third gear, we cross 100 kilometers per hour, and then there's a Zomato guy who I am welcoming with this awesome horn. Or we have the other one as well. Yes, the horn seems more on the inside, but it is actually on the outside because there are 3 horn mechanisms down there. And now I'm going to come into fourth because this car actually feels decently stable for what is an old car. Obviously the steering has a lot of play. You can see it is moving all around, which is expected considering that this is a heavy car with quite a height. So yes, it is top heavy, but aerodynamics are not bad at all considering what it was earlier, which I already mentioned at the start of the video. Now I'm full throttle going down a slope from this bridge, so hopefully we'll touch 120 kilometers per hour, which happens to be the top speed, which isn't bad considering this car produces just 48 horsepower. So this is a 1.6 liter petrol engine, which is basically now it is starting to move around at these speeds. So this is a 1.6 liter engine from the Beetle. The Beetle also had the same engine. This one produces 48 horsepower. Forget the torque, I don't know, must be around 100-150 Newton meters. But what's important is that this is an air-cooled engine. It's a boxer engine. It's a flat 4. It has the character. It has the sound. It obviously sounds really nice. But this gearbox is not easy to operate. Trust me on this. Getting into second or first is quite difficult. Sometimes you hit third instead of first, and then you hit reverse instead of second because reverse is back there. But once you get used to it, it becomes quite easy to drive this car. The original T1 actually came with a 1.1 liter 25 horsepower engine. Yeah, that was like not having any power at all. So 1949 is when the first generation was launched. This is the second generation, basically the second generation of the T2, the Type 2, which produces more horsepower depending on the year of manufacturing because they kept increasing power every year. So this is 1.6 liter, 48 horsepower. Then they had a 1.7 liter, which had a nice jump in power, mainly because it had twin carburetors. So that was producing 66 horsepower. Then 1.8 liter engine came with 68 horsepower. Then they went 2 liter with 70 horsepower. So there was no replacement for displacement back in the day. Slight improvements in terms of output depending on the displacement of the engine, of course. Now this is a manual gearbox. There's an automatic as well. There's a 3-speed automatic gearbox wherein power reduced by 4 horsepower to facilitate the, oh my god, when I'm braking now the car is swinging from here to there. Yeah, you can hear the suspension. But onto the throttle in 4th gear, it will struggle a bit. So we will actually downshift to 3rd. Here we are. Come on. It actually sounds nice because of the air-cooled nature of the engine. They also had a diesel, by the way, 1.6 liter diesel, around 80 horsepower. That used to return around 18 kilometers per liter, but used to heat a lot. So engine life wasn't the best as such. Steering has a lot of play. High-speed stability and handling and all you should not expect from this car because it is heavy. Around 1500 kgs for this car. They also had an electric version. There was the T2 Electro, which was powered by a 45 horsepower battery. So 45 horsepower what it used to produce. And the result was that that car used to give you a decent range on electric back in the 70s, but it used lead acid batteries, and the weight because of the electric motor and the battery which was placed between the floor and the, like this is the ladder frame, so between that the battery was placed between the wheelbase, between the front and rear axle, resulting in the battery itself weighing around 850 kgs. The weight of that car was around 3075 kgs. That was heavy, and when with such a heavy car obviously performance would be dull, but still it had a range of around 70-80 kilometers, and in terms of top speed 70 kilometers per hour was the top speed, but this one is like 120 kilometers kilometers per hour, which is amazing. So with the engines becoming bigger in size now, they had to increase the size of the engine bay as well, and with the increase in the engine size, it had to breathe better because air cooled, right? So they had to increase the air intakes as well at the rear. Then the latest versions of this car, I mean the last of the T2s, which was sold in Brazil, actually got a water cooled engine for better like breathing and better cooling and all. And that did the job decently well, I think, because it was on sale for quite some time and was only discontinued largely because it finally had to be discontinued as it did not meet latest emission norms. So the formula is simple here. What they have done is made a very simple van which is high on practicality. Now of course this is a rear engine rear wheel drive, and then later it became rear engine front wheel drive, and then later it became front engine front wheel drive, and then they also had a 4-wheel drive version with the front engine. So this is the T2 which came in multiple versions. So what is this bay window? Well, basically, if you see, there's a single big panoramic windscreen. The earlier first generation model had a split windscreen, so that was also known as the splitter. So this is like a bigger windscreen, which is much easier, obviously, to see, and that is what differentiates it from the first generation model. And obviously, the number of windows on the side here, there are 3. That had 5 of them. Now these are obviously bigger. With every generation, it became sharper. In fact, with the last few units or years of this particular car in Brazil, where it was sold, because everywhere else it was discontinued, this car was powered by a 1.4 liter E8 111 engine, the one from the Polo, with both petrol as well as ethanol support. And obviously that was more efficient. Like I was telling you about the diesel, well, this does sound a bit like diesel when you rev it hard, but it is quite refined as such, so you will not complain on that front. Sometimes you have to get into first before you think about getting into second, so you have to cycle through that. Non-synchronized gears, no assistance for the steering wheel, so the steering is
साला खुद मरना है तो मरना, दूसरे की काय को वाट लगाता है.
The steering is quite heavy, and at lower speed you feel that heaviness, but as you speed up now, it is much more manageable. Now I think the fuel tank capacity is around 60 liters. It will return somewhere around 10 kilometers per liter, which isn't bad at all. In fact, with this Type 2 also there were multiple versions. So there was the Type 2A, which is this car which was sold from 1967 to 1972, and then there was the Type 2B, which was actually known as the long bay, and that was the early bay, that was the late bay. So yeah, that whole bay thing, I don't know where they got it from. And then there was the Type 3A, which was basically the one which was sold largely in Brazil and all those South American markets, wherein it obviously got the water cooled engine for better breathing and better cooling and all that. Now this has a long history because 1949 was when the first generation model was launched. It shares a lot with the Beetle. This platform is the Volkswagen Group T platform, I believe, and the suspension is on the softer side, of course, so ride quality is good. Only thing is now because the suspensions are old and all that, so you can feel a bit of that going deep into a pothole, feeling that inside as well. Now this is actually a digital clock, which is kind of missing right now. There's ambient light below here, and there's an antenna right there which is fallen off, I believe. Brakes are a little soggy, so there is some play there. It's not very progressive as such. So the fourth generation came to be known as the Transporter, and after that I think they only called it the Transporter. The interesting part is that this car has so many names now, which I already mentioned in the start of the video, that it can get a bit confusing, and Volkswagen has really adapted to a lot of things. And there's so many various different caravan conversions as well, because this is really used as a caravan in multiple places around the globe, and it's very popular because it's obviously very practical, it's very big, and it's very spacious as well. Only thing is, it's not the easiest to drive, so you have to be a little bit patient with it. Again, performance is not something which is very spritey, and that's not something you would expect. Now it has evolved into the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which is the electric version of this particular van. Not really, because they have nothing in common at all. This being a body on frame and the weight being almost 1500 kgs is not the lightest, but then the engine is also small, and then it's like a 911. The engine is at the rear engine gives it a sort of a different handling feel. Slots right in place like that, then you just have to, and there it shuts. I am in third, now I am in first. So here we go, let's take a U-turn. You have to be a bit wide in terms of taking a U-turn, and the steering is, oh my goodness, it's really very heavy. Turning radius is also quite a lot. So yeah, that's something you need to get used to. And onto the throttle. So its main rival was the Ford Transit, of course, and it sold a lot in South Africa as well, wherein it was used as an ice cream van. It sold in South America as well. Unfortunately, it never made it to India, purely because Volkswagen missed the bus, literally, because you know now the whole story with Volkswagen, Suzuki and the Indian government trying to get a local car brand. Initially the plan was to get Volkswagen, but they did not respond on time and Suzuki came instead. They also had prototype hybrid and gas turbine variants of this particular car. Now what was the big change with the second generation model was they updated the electrical system from 6 volts to 12 volts, which meant that whatever accessories were available for the first generation were no longer compatible with the second generation model. And in terms of reliability, it's kind of indestructible, obviously German engineering and all that. However, certain issues crop up in terms of rusting, and then the engine is not that easy to service because it's positioned in a very weird and awkward position, and that is also a negative, the position of the engine, because in colder countries where largely it was sold, cooling wasn't that effective, rather heating wasn't that effective, because heating is diverted from the engine, which could not be done here naturally because obviously the engine is way far back. So guys, this is my vlog of the Volkswagen T2. If you like this vlog, make sure to give the thumbs up, that's the like button, and also subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video real soon.